Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of System Shock Radio. I, as always, am your host, Nigel, and today we've got a few topics for you guys, but first things first, couple announcements for starters. There is a sort of a poll type thing up. Basically, it decides which crime analysis I'm going to do next. Either the crime for Marvin Gaye, John Lennon, or Gianni Versace. Now, in this case, these people are not the criminals, but they are the victims of the crime. And with my crime analysis, I want to do not just criminals, but victims of crime as well. So, please let me know which one you guys want to see next. I haven't received any feedback, so you guys have until tomorrow, the end of the day tomorrow. And then by Tuesday, I gotta start researching for that. So if you guys don't decide, then either I'll pick one or maybe I'll pick someone else, because maybe you guys don't necessarily want to see that. But you gotta let me know who you do want to see me talk about with that. But the other thing is, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel under the Nigelverse, and I also have an Instagram and a Twitter page as well for those, also under the same name. So if you haven't already, go check those out. And the other thing is, of course, the crime analysis is going to be next week, and it's going to drop on Friday because that's the end of the month. I try to do a crime analysis every month. But yeah, so the other thing is, I just want to say thank you all so much for the support you've shown for the other stuff as well that I do on my YouTube channel. So over on the YouTube, we do a variety of things, such as the crime analysis videos, talking about movies, video games. We do reviews. We do some wrestling reviews. I gotta get some more wrestling reviews on there as well. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff we do. So if you haven't already, go subscribe to that YouTube channel. In fact, I'll put a link to it in the comments of this video. But without further ado, let's get right into our first topic. So our first topic is going to be a question. I feel like this is a very interesting question, at least to me, and that is, can the art be separated from the artist? Now, when something happens, for example, with Michael Jackson or R. Kelly or Bill Cosby, pretty much some of the people I reviewed from my crime analysis videos, or even Chris Benoit, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. Basically what happens is they do something in their real personal life that is very bad, very unacceptable, very inappropriate, and people are conflicted because these are people that produce some type of art. So of course, Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, they're singers and everything, and Bill Cosby, he does TV shows and stuff, and of course Chris Benoit was a wrestler and everything. So people try to ask the question, can the art be separated from the artist? Can I still enjoy the art that this person put out, knowing what they did in their real life? Is it still possible to enjoy the art they produced without taking into consideration who they were as a person, who they are as a person? And for me, I think it's very difficult to do. It's a very difficult thing to do, being able to separate the art from the artist, knowing what this person did and how they went about things, and still being able to enjoy them. Sometimes I do. I admit I still will listen to Michael Jackson. It's very hard not to, because a lot of the songs he produced were really, really awesome, and the fact that he was accused of this stuff, and granted he was found not guilty, but still, there are a lot of people who believe he did this. I believe he did what he did. For more information, you can check that out, that crime analysis video on my YouTube channel. But yeah, so when it came out that he did what he did, that he allegedly did what he did, there's a lot of people who found it difficult to listen to his music when the stuff with R. Kelly happened. People found it difficult to listen to his music when the stuff with Bill Cosby came out. People were conflicted about continuing to watch stuff like The Cosby Show and stuff like that. And even with Chris Benoit, a lot of people say it's hard to glorify him as a wrestler or knowing what he did. And it's something where I can see both sides of the paradigm. I can understand people not wanting to indulge in the arts, knowing who the artist is and knowing everything they've done. That's understandable, to be honest, because it's hard to do that because the art in question, like the songs or a TV show or whatever, is tied to that person because that person is responsible for it, of course. And so it's very hard to say, well, I'm just not going to pay attention to the person because as I still want to enjoy what they did and everything, the art that they produced. But there's some people who can't do it, and there's some people who have done it and who advocate for it, saying, I'm not going to let their personal life affect this. What they do in their personal life in their free time exists in a different bubble versus them as a person, and what they do as a person separates them from the art. And in a way I can kind of understand that. For example, I'm pretty sure those of you who have jobs and everything, you're not the same person at work that you are when you leave work. And with that, some people say, well, can you, should you be fired for something you do in your personal time if you do something that maybe doesn't reflect the company policy? Sorry, I accidentally hit the mic. By the way, you may hear a little bit of background noise. I have my fan going. It's pretty hot where I am, so I got my fan going and everything. But at your job, can you be fired for things that you do in your personal life that doesn't necessarily reflect the company's values, even if it's something not that bad, that it's just some, you can't do at work, NSFW, not safe for work. That is where things get a little tricky, at least for me, is separating the art from the artist, because obviously the person they were as a person, like their personal life and stuff, isn't always reflected in the art. Sometimes it is, but not always. So, with that being said, that's why it's a pretty complex question to go about answering, and I think it is an interesting question to answer. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and it'll be judgment free. I won't judge you. If you can't separate the art from the artist, that is perfectly fine. If you can, that's perfectly fine, and I imagine you're as a person, you're justified for whichever decision you make. Me personally, I feel like it's difficult sometimes because some of the stuff they did is just so bad, and especially if either it comes out that they did indeed do it, there's overwhelming proof that they did it, or they admit that they did it and everything. That, I think, is when it really becomes difficult to enjoy the art. Like, how can I enjoy the song knowing what this person, the singer, did and everything? But with that being said, let's move on to the next topic. We're going to talk about Sonic 3 and Knuckles. No, I'm just kidding. Sonic 3, obviously the third game in the Sonic series, which, although that is a joke sometimes, the third game in a series isn't the third game in the series. Let's be real, but Sonic 3 arguably one of a lot of people's favorite games, and it's a game that is very hard to port to other consoles, like the game in its original format. And the reason for that is because of the music. So, the music for Sonic 3, get ready for that, is if you're sitting, try not to stand up too fast, but the composer for Sonic 3 was Michael Jackson. That's right. He composed the music for Sonic 3. I'll give you a second to let the shock wear off, and 1, 2, 3. There you go. But yeah, so Sonic 3, the music for Sonic 3 was composed by Michael Jackson, and that's the reason why it's hard to port. Or not even because of what he allegedly did. Going back to that first topic, the art being separated from the artist, but not even just because of what he did, but because of licensing and copyright and stuff. It's one of the reasons why he's not even credited for his contributions for Sonic 3 and everything, but the licensing, of course, Michael Jackson being a very prominent figure and being signed and everything to record labels, there are people being in control of his assets, things like that, and make it very difficult to port Sonic 3 to other consoles because of licensing and copyright and things like that. And so that's why you don't see a lot of ports of Sonic 3 out there. I think one of the only ports of Sonic 3 that I can think of existing was the Sonic Gems collection, the Sonic Mega Collection, I believe it's either Mega Collection or Gems Collection. The Sonic Mega Collection on PS2, the Plus, and I think it was in the Ultimate Sega Genesis Classics Collection on PS3. But other than that, it's hard to find a port of Sonic 3 pretty much anywhere. You can always emulate it and stuff, and I imagine they don't want to port the game and then change up the music, because some of that music not just very good, but it's also very iconic. People will be like, hey, the music's changed. Why'd they change the music? And they're, hey, maybe you're right. So they try to avoid it altogether and just not really a whole lot of ports of Sonic 3. But next up, we're going to talk about another question to throw at you guys. Should celebrities be allowed in the WWE Hall of Fame? Now, this is a very interesting question, and some that is more mixed than you may think. So there are people who say celebrities should not be in pro wrestling. Celebrities have no place in the world of pro wrestling. There are people who do other things such as movies and music and stuff. What are they doing in pro wrestling, and what are they doing in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame, where other wrestlers who actually contribute to the business and everything, they're there. Why are these celebrities coming in and taking up these Hall of Fame spots from people? Now, here's the thing. WWE has almost always had celebrities involved in pro wrestling, in their product, in some way, shape, or form. Even going back to the first WrestleMania, with Mr. T and everything. Celebrities in pro wrestling have gone together quite a bit. You may remember when Jerry Lawler feuded with Andy Kaufman back in the day. Celebs in pro wrestling have been almost intertwined in a lot of ways, and we've seen them throughout the years. In some capacity, a lot of celebrities have been on TV. In some capacity in pro wrestling, they've had matches and stuff, and some good, some bad. We've seen the good, for example, the stuff with Bad Bunny and Logan Paul and Pat McAfee in recent years in WWE. But then we've seen the bad, such as David Arquette winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, the top championship in the company at that time, the same championship held by guys like Ric Flair and Goldberg and Sting. And yeah, that championship was around David Arquette, who was an actor. Now, to David Arquette's credit, he then became a wrestler and started wrestling in the Indies and everything years later, and he donated the proceeds from what he made when he was in WCW to the families of Owen Hart and I believe Louis Piccoli as well, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, please correct me in the comments. But that, and he never wanted to be world champion in the first place. It was not his idea. Apparently it was Tony Schiavone who pitched the idea of David Arquette winning the world championship. But yeah. So celebrities in pro wrestling have a wide history with each other. So is it really that surprising that some of them are in the Hall of Fame? Now, there are some celebrities who barely did anything on TV to be in the Hall of Fame, and then there's still a lot of WWE wrestlers who are still not in the Hall of Fame, and so that could be why some people are like, well, they're taking spots from the wrestlers and everything. But celebs in the Hall of Fame, at first it was a little annoying, but I understand why they do it, and I've kind of gotten used to it. And honestly, look, if Pat McAfee goes in the Hall of Fame like next year, you will get no argument from me because that dude is awesome. But same with Bad Bunny. I didn't watch his match at Mania 37, but from what I heard from a lot of people, it was actually really good. But celebs being with pro wrestling, does it really surprise you that they're in the Hall of Fame and everything? Especially when some of the stuff they did was pretty memorable for the most part on TV. Like, I believe Cyndi Lauper's in the Hall of Fame. She did some stuff with WWE. I think Andy Kaufman's in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look to be sure. And, of course, Mr. T is in the Hall of Fame as well. So, yeah, with that being said, it's not really surprising. Now, I'm sure there's some people who still object to celebrities being in the Hall of Fame, and honestly, that's fine. But me personally, I don't really have too much of a problem with it. But, and our final topic for the day is going to be how to learn from your mistakes. So, nobody's perfect in life. We all make mistakes. We've all done things we're not proud of, myself included, especially me. I've done plenty of things that I'm not proud of in my lifetime. But that's why you learn from your mistakes and you grow as an individual, a human being, as a person. And taking your mistakes, taking what you learned from your mistakes for what you did, instead of letting them beat you up and consume you, because as oftentimes I feel like they will, and that's happened to me, unfortunately. But instead of letting them boil up and overtake you and everything, to where your life's just consumed with your mistakes and everything, you learn how to process them, you learn how to learn from them so you don't make those mistakes again. And so you actually get to learn something from it. You actually improve based off the mistakes that you made, either for yourself in the future or for others later on down the line. Of course, parents sometimes, when they've made mistakes in their past, they try to impart wisdom to their children so that the children don't make the same mistakes. Like, hey, this is the mistakes I made. Don't make the same mistakes. Look how my life turned out. Look how this person's life turned out when they made mistakes. I don't want you making the same mistakes and everything. And that, I think, is why mistakes shouldn't be it shouldn't be pushed down. Like, this mistake, never happened. And what are you talking about? I never did that. I don't know what you're talking about. But I feel like learning from your mistakes. Now, if you don't learn from your mistakes, then and the mistake is just there, and it's just something that happened and that you're not really going to grow from. But being able to grow and learn from your mistakes is such an underrated tool and such an important thing for people to be able to do, is learning from their mistakes. So you may have made mistakes in your past, and you may have even made some today, who knows, but being able to learn and grow from your mistakes will help you in the long run. I promise you, trust me, I know from experience. But without further ado, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. And of course, if this is your first time watching System Shock Radio, welcome. If this isn't your first time and you're a returning viewer, welcome back and everything. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at the Nigelverse. That's the Nigelverse's page. And same with Instagram, although with Instagram, instead of being spaced out, it's an underscore. And I think it's the same with Twitter as well. Yeah, it is. And then like the Facebook page, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, on my Instagram, I finally did get around to putting up the past episodes of Phoenix Rising Radio on there. So if you wanted to check those out, you can. I gotta warn you, it's a little goofy, a little bit cringe, but I did still enjoy my time with Phoenix Rising Radio, and I actually did a retrospective of Phoenix Rising Radio. So if you haven't already, go check that out. Oh, and yeah, so the next crime analysis video is coming this week, and I may even squeeze in another video this week, possibly. But without further ado, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.